The FAA will embark on an ambitious 3-year plan to modernize America's air traffic control systems. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced the plan last week, but stopped short of putting a price tag on it. The plan calls for new wireless, satellite, and fiber technology, hundreds of new radars, and new air traffic control centers. So here with more on how this could help air travel in the country, we have President of the Jets FBO Network, Mr. Mike Hillman. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So talk to me about how badly a revamp is needed for our nation's air traffic control systems. I mean, just how outdated is the equipment we're operating on right now?
Well, World War II era, unfortunately. Not that it isn't functional, but you're talking about the primary components being ground-based radar and VHF radio. So controllers utilize a radar system to find the airplane in the sky and communicate with the pilots to give direction via VHF radio. That's augmented by a lot of other systems, but that's a couple of the primary components. And then the coordinating computer system is 80s, 90s technology, which is relying on copper and floppy disks. So an antiquated system, to say the least.
Why hasn't there been a push to modernize the equipment way before now then?
I could say, if I had to characterize it in any way, it's overwhelming, it's insurmountable in a lot of respects, budgetary reasons. So I think nobody's undertaken it yet because it's simply insurmountable in a lot of view. If you look at the largest computer upgrade you could ever think of and then multiply it by the number of centers and airports across the world and then couple that with the fact that you can't shut it down to upgrade it, you can't interrupt the system, it's going to be a daunting task. But there's some things that could be done ahead of that major overhaul that would help.
Now, this isn't going to happen anytime soon, though, so talk to me about what kind of improvements and upgrades should be made right now while they do continue to work on how to fund and implement this new plan.
Sure. Well, you know, looking back at the incident recently here in Newark, you picture yourself trying to navigate a room with your eyes covered while your friend gives you guidance on turn left, turn right, and that's what those controllers are doing for us. We're flying blind in the clouds with an altitude assignment with a heading, and without the controller's contact, that's, needless to say, quite dangerous. So augmenting the ability for the controllers to stay in contact with the digital fiber optic system and satellites would be crucial, but some of the quick low-hanging fruit revolves around simple things like we're in an incredible shortage of controllers, we have frequency congestion, and there's some systems you can install at runways. You saw the recent Midway incident where the FlexJet taxied across the runway in front of Southwest. They had to power up and go around. That could have ended horribly. But there's a system called ground surveillance that would allow a pilot to be alerted when they're about to taxi in front of a active or onto an active runway. So some low-hanging fruit we can tackle quickly, but that overhaul will be billions and years.
Well, we do have a busy travel season that is, coming right up, and I want to know what your advice is to travelers who are getting ready to fly, who may have some concerns over the state of air travel in the U.S., especially in the wake of all the fatal crashes that we've seen recently.
Well, statistically, it's still the safest method of travel, but I always, when I travel commercially, look for direct flights. If you think about it in terms of having a connection, you're increasing your problem or potential for delays 100%. So direct flights when able, even if there's a little bit of extra cost, think of the cost of missing your connection or sitting in town an extra day. As far as other avenues, you want to have a backup plan the minute you get in the system. So if you're flying on Frontier, for instance, out of Cleveland, know what Delta, United, and the others are doing that would back you up should that flight cancel. And it should make your having options is really the best opportunity for getting to your destination on time. But statistically, the safety numbers still dictate this is the preferred method of travel. I think we could safely say that there will be further delays this summer, whether it's weather oriented, whether it's air traffic controller oriented, or God forbid, another system failure.
And, Mike, there's been a lot of news at our regional airport this year. Could you talk to me about what the status of that training center for the airport is? Maybe how's the timeline looking for that in these last couple of seconds that we have?
Well, they've begun construction in terms of moving things that are in the way. So the fuel farm at the airport's being moved. Funding's been put in place by a number of sources for the facility. They expect to break ground in the fall. Simultaneously, the flight training has begun. It is not yet under the auspices of YSU, but most of that curriculum has been approved, and hopefully there'll be a formal announcement as to YSU's aviation program here in the fall. Uh, as I said, we're training now, but not with the Penguin on the plane yet. So the private pilots, I think, are in their third cohort. That building will house not just the flight training aspect at the airport, but the mechanic training. So PIA is a huge tenant at the airport. They're bursting at the seams. They need more space to put students into their curriculum, a wonderful program that in 18 months your student could have a well-paying job, almost 100% placement. So between the flight center and the mechanic center, that building will house the growth for the educational campus at YSU or Youngstown Airport. Uh, it will probably be ready in early 26.
Okay, wow, that's really
Oh,
something.
I apologize. Early 27. Early 27. Don't
Early
want to get
20s.
any
Okay,
hopes
I'm
up.
like, that's quick. Okay, no, well, it's still something to look forward to, Mike Holman. We so appreciate you for giving us some time this morning.
Yeah, thank you.